um, the things that I talk about in my day-to-day life and how they could be perceived as controversial is just so hilarious to me. That it could be funny or controversial to talk about how addiction is a legitimate mental illness, and how when someone um, partakes, when they are engaged in addiction, that they're essentially um, possessed by their inner child, their wounded inner child, an inner child that has no coping skills or self-esteem or positive self-talk or breathing exercises or uh, security, safety. And I'm not saying that 100% of the time, every single person, that's their experience. Because that's just not possible, because that's not how humans work. We all have different experiences, we all have different brains, we all have different circumstances and life's conditioning that leads us up to the place where we are today. And speaking for myself and the people that I have known and know currently who have this disorder of addiction, that has been true. And as I heal my inner child and my relationship to myself and become my most authentic self, not only does it just not make sense for me to engage in addiction, to be addicted to things, it's just not necessary because I have coping skills. I can create a sense of safety and calm in my own life. But that's all to say, that's all been said to say this. There's a young man where next month in March, he will have been missing for a year. He overdosed and went to the hospital and left AMA against medical advice. And he went to a well-known trap house here in Springfield, Vermont. And nobody has seen him since then. And next month it will be a year. And the people that care about him have tried to go to the authorities to open a missing persons report and to try to compel the police to look for him. He has a baby, a 2-year-old daughter. He has a mother. He has siblings. He has grandparents. He's a person. And yet, because of the circumstances of his life, he's not being looked for. The circumstances of his life that were induced because he was engaged in addiction and his inner child was making decisions for him. That he didn't think he was worth getting clean. He didn't think that he deserved a good life. That his value of himself was so low that he couldn't fight the demon of fentanyl and xylazine. Like, the size of that battle is enormous, and we don't give people the tools to fight it. And then when they lose the battle, we don't even bother looking for them. He's not alive anymore. That's the belief, and that is what makes sense, sadly, because he's just been gone. But he doesn't deserve to be found because he had a mental illness, because his spirit was broken and he hadn't healed yet. That is what stigma is. That is the stigma that surrounds the disorder of addiction. You are less than because you haven't healed yet. You aren't worth resources or energy because you didn't heal fast enough. And he was really young, so it makes sense he wouldn't have healed yet. That's the whole you live and you learn thing, you know? You gotta live and learn from it before you change and learn from your mistakes. This stigma around this disorder is upsetting, and it's present in our lives everywhere. And this is the one that's really hit home for me recently. I didn't know this young man. I never met him in my life, but people that I knew him. And when I was told that the police wouldn't open a missing persons report because he has a warrant and that is sufficient, and the fact that it's been allowed, his body is somewhere and that's been allowed, made me feel like I was living in a movie with a dystopian society where right is wrong and wrong is right. How is this reality? How is that the right choice to make? And in the defense of the powers that be, I haven't personally looked into this situation and I don't have all of the information. But on a basic level, if civilians have done more investigating to find out where he is, if private citizens have done more than the police have to find out what happened and where he is, that feels really wrong, because I absolutely 100% believe that if he had not been a drug addict, if he was a quote upstanding member of society, he would have been found already. Sometimes I wish that it didn't feel like my responsibility to be a superhero, to help and to heal and to do the right thing when nobody else will. And for as long as I can remember, I've been this way, getting in trouble in school for standing up for what I believed was right, and I wasn't always accurate in being right, but I, stood up for what was right. And it seems like so much of the world, it wants to be wrong because it's so much easier, this life of hedonistic comforts of running from feelings and life and reality. But this is just absolutely absurd on a whole other level. If anyone has any advice on how to help this family get some answers and be able to bury their loved one and have a funeral and have some closure, it would be greatly appreciated. Yeah, talk to you soon.